Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Look, if you're an IT administrator like me, you are probably feeling this immense, almost crushing pressure right now to roll out generative AI across your organization. Microsoft 365 Copilot is an absolutely incredible tool, but before we flip that switch and activate it, well, we have a critical job to do first, and that is locking down our data. So today, we're going to walk through the exact prioritized roadmap to secure your environment. We want to make sure your Copilot rollout is a massive success rather than, a massive security incident.
Okay, let's dive into this by asking you to imagine a complete nightmare scenario for a second. It's day one of your Copilot deployment. A curious employee opens the chat and simply types confidential payroll 2026. Or maybe they ask for the latest M&A plans, or even that messy, chaotic HR folder from 2014 that everyone somehow still has access to. What happens next? If your environment is like most out there, you might literally be facing an IT nightmare.
Because here's the harsh reality, guys. Copilot surfaces exactly what it finds. It respects your existing permissions to the letter. It uses the Microsoft Graph to surface and summarize the exact same information your users can already access. Honestly, that's its entire purpose. But the glaring problem here is that in most mid-market environments, users have access to way more than they should. Decades of nested groups, open sharing links, and broken inheritance? Yeah, that means your existing data governance debt just became an instant massive AI exposure risk. So to fix this, we need a clear roadmap. We're going to cover 1. The Copilot data risk. 2. Remediating SharePoint oversharing. 3. Configuring Purview guardrails. And 4. Launching a secure pilot. Let's get into it. Starting with Section 1, the Copilot data risk. It is absolutely vital to understand that a Microsoft 365 Copilot rollout is not just an AI project. It's really a data security and identity project at its core. Look at the massive contrast here between the AI promise and the AI reality. The promise is this unprecedented productivity, right? But the reality is that Copilot can increase the speed of mistakes just as easily as it boosts productivity. If your identity controls are weak, if sensitive content isn't labeled, or if your permissions are just a mess, that AI value instantly becomes AI risk. Copilot doesn't create the mess, it just accelerates what is already there.
There is this old data science saying that really hits the nail on the head here. If you pollute the training data during migration, you have poisoned the well. Copilot relies entirely on the graph to figure out which documents are authoritative and which ones to reference. So if you feed Copilot outdated, overshared, or poorly permissioned data, like 12 different slightly tweaked versions of a policy document, you've poisoned the well. Users are going to get random, conflicting citations, and they will immediately lose trust in the whole tool. We absolutely have to clean the data first.
And that brings us perfectly to Section 2, remediating SharePoint oversharing. This is where we roll up our sleeves and literally stop the bleeding. Our number one focus as IT admins right now needs to be cleaning up our SharePoint and Teams environments. The absolute foundation of this cleanup is just enough access, or JEA. Basically, under a zero-trust model, your content should be private by default. Users shouldn't even be able to discover data they aren't supposed to view. We have to enforce this principle before Copilot can safely operate in our tenant, for sure.
So the crucial point is that we don't need to boil the ocean and reorganize the entire tenant overnight. Actually, scratch that. You literally couldn't if you tried. Instead, focus on these 4 steps for the top 10 to 20 high-traffic SharePoint sites that matter most. Think finance, HR, legal. First, identify those specific sites. Second, ruthlessly eliminate those legacy everyone groups and company-wide sharing links. Just get rid of them. Third, correct broken permission inheritance all the way down to the folder level. And finally, assign accountable, real human site owners who will actually manage access going forward.
Now, obviously, cleaning up all those permissions takes a lot of time. While you're working on that, you've got to apply interim Copilot protections. You can use SharePoint Advanced Management, or SAM, to enable restricted content discovery. This is great because it basically hides sensitive, unlabeled sites completely from Copilot's view. You can also temporarily limit Copilot search to just a specific list of validated sites and enforce really strict expirations on any anonymous sharing links. This buys you the breathing room you need to fix the foundation. All right, once the manual bleeding is stopped, we move to Section 3, configuring Purview guardrails. This is where we build the systemic, automated walls using Microsoft Purview to protect our data moving forward. As IT pros, we know that if you can't see it, you can't secure it, right? A lack of visibility makes security impossible. That is exactly where Data Security Posture Management, or DSPM for AI, comes in. It gives us the visibility required to develop real, actionable strategies. It shows us exactly how AI is being used across the org, and more importantly, where our sensitive data might be exposed. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what I mean. The Purview AI Hub acts as your command center. As you can see, it actively uncovers completely unlabeled files that are being referenced in Copilot responses, and it highlights interactions involving sensitive data. This is your go-to tool for discovering shadow AI use and validating that those oversharing remediations we just talked about are actually working in the real world. So, with visibility established, we must configure these specific Purview guardrails. First up, turn on auto-labeling for sensitivity. Why? Well, because Copilot outputs automatically inherit the highest sensitivity level of the referenced files. If a user asks Copilot to summarize a highly confidential document, boom, the resulting output is automatically protected as highly confidential. It's magic. We also need to activate data loss prevention, DLP, to restrict Copilot from processing specific sensitive files entirely, and use DLP to actually block restricted keywords right in the user prompts. Finally, turn on insider risk management to detect patterns of risky AI behavior. And remember, Copilot interactions are a brand new form of corporate data, which means they are subject to the exact same compliance laws as your emails or chats. This means mapping your existing Purview tools directly to AI interactions. For example, communication compliance scans the actual prompts for inappropriate use. Data lifecycle management ensures you retain or delete those Copilot interaction transcripts according to your corporate policies. And e-discovery allows you to preserve and search those interactions for legal audits. If you're in a regulated industry, these guardrails are completely non-negotiable. Okay, we've cleaned up SharePoint. We've built our Purview walls. Now we are finally ready for Section 4, launching a secure pilot. Let's move to and see how this builds into an actual timeline. The single biggest mistake organizations make is skipping straight to day 30 without doing the groundwork. You have to start with discovery. By day 15, you should be actively remediating oversharing in your top sites and turning on those Purview guardrails. Only around day 30 do you launch a secure pilot to a small contained cohort of maybe 10 to 50 users. And hey, a massive warning here. Do not launch Copilot to your executive first. I know they want it, but high-value users attract high-effort attacks. You gotta wait until your privileged access is completely locked down before the C-suite gets their hands on Copilot. Now, as you roll out to that pilot group, you absolutely must establish governance essentials. If you don't give them secure, approved AI options with really clear rules, they're just going to turn to shadow AI. You need to clearly define what data is acceptable to use. You need to document prompt hygiene, literally teaching users never to paste client identifiers or company secrets into prompts. And you must establish a monthly review loop to look at near misses and adjust your controls as you learn. I love this quote, and it represents a fundamental mindset shift we all need to make right now. We cannot rely on user training and dusty paper policies to keep data safe anymore. We have to enforce rules technically. By using Purview and SharePoint Advanced Management to automatically block oversharing and label data, it means governance is an engineering problem, and we're solving it right in the platform itself. So I'm going to leave you with this somewhat provocative question to think about. In the age of AI, is your data a fuel for unprecedented productivity, or is it a liability just waiting to be exposed by a single prompt? By acting on this roadmap today, really prioritizing that SharePoint cleanup and locking in those Purview guardrails, you can confidently say your environment is secured, governed, and truly ready for AI. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and good luck with your deployment. You've got this.